Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode of Ushanka Show, where everyone can learn something new about life in the Soviet Union. In today's video, we're going to talk about intercity bus service in the Soviet Union and my personal experience traveling by bus from town to town. And just a friendly reminder, if you're interested in the topic of public transportation in the Soviet Union, I have a separate playlist and link will be posted below in the comment section. So recently I posted this picture of the Soviet era central bus station in my hometown Kiev in Ukraine. So this picture was taken sometimes in the early 1980s, and this is the place where I start my journey, and it's 250 kilometers from Kiev to the village in northern Ukraine. And I mentioned that this journey took us, my family, 12 hours, and has of course brought a lot of questions. About 50% of my viewers are from the United States, so for you, my fellow Americans, 250 kilometers is about 155 miles. So if you do basic math, 12-hour trip to cover 155 miles, you're basically moving at the speed of about 11-12 miles per hour. And if we use modern days Google Maps, it will tell you that the distance between Kiev and the village Zhovid in northern Ukraine, that's where I spent all my summers, it's about 247 kilometers or 3 hours 44 minutes by car. Meanwhile, we used to travel for 12 hours. And we need to talk about speed limits in the Soviet Union. So on the Soviet highways, I wouldn't call them highways, like Kiev and Chernigiv were connected with the basic 2-lane asphalt road. So speed limit was 90 kilometers an hour or 55 miles an hour. But public transportation like inner city buses could go only as fast as 60 kilometers an hour, which is only 37.2 miles per hour. So pretty slow. But still, if you divide 250 kilometer distance to 60 kilometers an hour speed of the bus, plus maybe some stops, you should make that distance in about roughly 5 hours, while we were spending 12. So definitely math still doesn't work. A while back, one of my viewers posted how great was Soviet public transportation. Of course, he never traveled by Soviet bus. So I told him a quick, reference to my trips to my village. And he got super angry and, accused me of lying. And I was trying to find that conversation on my comment section just to show you guys, but unfortunately, maybe he deleted his account, but those comments are gone. But that was quite a lengthy conversation, and he accused me over and over again in lying and pushing pro-Western, anti-public transportation propaganda. Okay, so let me tell you about those bus trips that my family did every summer, traveling from Kiev, capital of Ukraine, to Zhovid, a small village in northern Ukraine, about 250 kilometers away. And before we start, I would like to answer one question: why we didn't use the train? Unfortunately, in the Chernigiv direction, in that northern direction, there is no direct train connection, so you have to take several train stops, and just bus was working way better. So that's why we used buses and never used the trains. Although it's possible with several switch trains to get close to the village, but not directly into the village. Okay, so of course we had to buy bus tickets, and my parents always tried to buy them way in advance. I think they were open to buy them maybe a month in advance or 2 weeks before the date of the trip. So my dad or my mom would travel to this central bus station in Kiev, which is about 40 minutes by bus, and I don't add that time to the travel time, okay? So, and then you stay in line. There will be special separate kassa ticket booth for advanced tickets, and if you're lucky, there will be no line. There usually was line of people, so you maybe spend there 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and you buy advanced bus tickets for specific date. And unfortunately, I don't remember the price. I believe maybe 3 rubles 50 kopecks per ticket. So not cheap, but not really expensive. You may recall that Soviet workers had a really nice perk, 28 days of paid vacation every year, and you would get your отпускные, so vacation pay before you leave for your vacation. So you get your monthly salary, and then in advance you get in monthly pay while you're on vacation. Of course, we didn't get paid a lot, about 150 rubles a month, but that was a nice perk to have an entire month as a vacation. And my family went to that village for an entire month, and of course I went if we go together in the beginning of summer, I'll stay there for entire summer, all 3 months. Okay, here I need to mention the term «счастливое советское детство», happy Soviet childhood, and I had that. I know it's kind of cliche. Some people even made videos that it's like a myth about happy Soviet childhood, but I did have that because the place, that village, was my paradise. It's the place where it was always summer because I go there for the entire summer for 3 months. I had no school, no homework, just my friends, staying with grandparents, and we just, chill, go fishing, go mushroom hunting, swimming in the river. So there's 3 months of paradise every year. So I had that beautiful destination that all year in school I was just waiting till I can leave Kiev and spend my next summer in the village. And I know everyone had a summer break, but the huge difference is that usually people, they go somewhere for a short time for vacation or whatever. Like my wife, she's an American. They will go for a weekend to stay with grandma, who had a little cottage in the other side of Michigan. But I was going completely out of city, so that was a completely different lifestyle. Of course, it was dirty because there's no running water, outhouse, all that stuff, but still, it was fantastic. And of course, I wasn't the only one who had such arrangements. We're pretty much the generation of baby boomers that, like my parents, who left villages, moved to the large cities, and there was a big wave after Nikita Khrushchev allowed people who lived in the villages, collective farm workers, to leave and find jobs in the big cities. So then we were born in 70s, 60s, 80s maybe, and we still had our grandparents alive in the villages. So there was a lot of kids who lived in the city, but they spent every summer in the villages with their grandparents. And of course, I'm a grandparent myself now. I have a 5-year-old grandchild, and we babysit him sometimes. And I'm honestly horrified why and how my grandma agreed to babysit me for entire summer. We have him for a couple of days a week, and it's like, a lot of work. But this is entire summer, and my grandma still had to take care of chickens and pigs and her cow and a garden and feed me. And I was there when I was like baby, no diapers, so grandma will cut holes in my pants. And so when I play outside, I can just, do my business without stopping. So kudos to my grandma. Thank you, Grandma. I apologize for that small detour. I thought it was important to mention about happy Soviet childhood. So on the day of a trip, I had to get up early in the morning, like 6 a.m. And my dad was always so nervous. I mean, for American, you hop in a car, you drive this 150 miles, whatever. It's not a big deal, right? People go to work 50 miles every day driving, quite a few of them. But my dad was so nervous that he'll have a diarrhea. So I remember there's while we're doing final preparations, packing, and waiting for our taxi ride, my dad will be grunting in the bathroom, sitting in the toilet. It's just like the worst time possible because, we're trying to use bathrooms as well. But he was so nervous to travel that he always would have diarrhea. And yes, I mentioned we had to hire a taxi, which was not cheap. We could use public transportation, but the problem was that since we had so much luggage, carrying luggage, it was about a 15-minute walk from our apartment building to a bus stop, and then of course 40 minutes by bus. But carrying so much luggage that 15 minutes was pretty much impossible, so my parents had to hire taxi. So every year we used taxi twice, from our apartment building to the central bus station, and then when we arrived back, we'll also hire a taxi from the bus station back to our apartment building. And I remember it was such a great experience to be in the car. It was just like, wow, because you're only in the buses or trolley buses or subway. So being in a car, that's the only time I was in the car was pretty much right in the Volga taxi. And by taxi, there'll be probably about 20 minutes or maybe less to get to the bus station. There was not a lot of traffic in the morning, and generally there was not much traffic on the roads in Kiev back in those days in the 80s and 70s. But my parents were always worried that something will go wrong and we'll be late to catch the bus. So we'll arrive like hour and a half early, or maybe sometimes they couldn't buy tickets in advance, they already be sold out, but they will always keep some bus tickets to sell on the day of the travel. So we'll come that early, so my mom would run and get in the line to buy tickets. So I remember always the first part of the trip after taxi ride will be just hanging out at the bus station for several hours. So I'll be just playing, walking around, look at the buses, stuff like that. Of course, if I knew that many years later I'll be making videos and stories about my bus trips, I probably would save some bus tickets and will remember schedule. But I think our bus was leaving maybe 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, going to Chernigiv. And as you just sit there, wait, and then finally you see this red and white boxy Ikarus 250 bus pull in, and it's time to get on the bus. You put your luggage below and then you get your seats. There was a previous generation of Ikarus buses. I don't recall riding it, but I probably did. I was just too young to remember. But that was this cool kind of looking 50s, 60s design bus. The nickname was Chiman, the luggage, because the rear compartment where the engine was sticking out like a big case. And it's actually had a cool system, like almost it swings open as a gate and you have easy access to the diesel engine. So those buses were pretty much being phased out in the late 70s, early 80s. And we were riding usually Ikarus 250. And a quick side note about the location of the central bus station in Kiev. I'm not sure why, but it was quite a ways from the central train station. You would think it would be logical in centrally planned economy and centrally planned everything that you will place bus station next to the train station so then people can easily move between. It was quite a distance, for the city type. Like if you want to walk, it's about an hour between two stations, but we never needed to change, from bus to train. But I never thought about it, but I realized recently, like, wow, that's really stupid to have it so far away. And the final our journey would begin, and of course I'll be so excited because I'm going to my summer paradise. But when you're a little kid, every hour feels like 5 hours. So even the first leg is going between Kiev and Chernigiv felt like forever, although it was about probably 4 hours if I remember correctly. And once again, speed limit 60 kilometers an hour, very slow, but they never build bypasses. So the trip, this 140 kilometers trip between Kiev and Chernigiv, bus had to slow down to 25 kilometers an hour going through every village, and there's quite a few of them along the way. And then the first decent-sized town, Bravary, there was a bunch of stoplights, so you were losing a lot of speed and time going through all those villages in Bravary. Now they built a bypass around Bravary. Before that, it didn't exist. And of course, I need to mention that despite the fact that Ikarus 250 was the best bus you can get in the Soviet Union, it was very comfortable, very nice, quite roomy. It didn't have air conditioning, so if you are riding that bus on a hot summer day, it could be pretty ugly, especially if you're on the side where the sun shines. And the only way you could get fresh air will be opening those little tiny windows, I call them lids. So there'll be like air vents on the top, and it's like a big lid you can pop open. But then of course, when the bus goes full speed, that wind that comes in, some people will start complaining it's blowing right in their faces. So they'll have this whole wars about trying to open to close. It was pretty ugly. So if it's a hot summer day, that trip was really not comfortable. Our first stop was a small town called Kazilets. It's about halfway between Kiev and Chernigiv. And now they built the bypass. There's no more buses stopping there. And in fact, I checked, the bus station was closed down, and now there's like a grocery store there. But back in those days, bus would slowly go through town, then stop at the bus station, and we'll have like 20 minutes break so people can use the bathroom, stretch their legs. And that bathroom was the nastiest bathroom I ever experienced in my life. I had to stop my breathing, like you get some air in, like you dive in and you run in and try to use the bathroom as quick as possible because there were just holes, on the cement floor. And then people who cleans them just dumping chlorine. So the stench was just unbearable. It was bad, but if you have to go, you have to go. And usually there were some vendors selling food. I remember there was always bilyashi, it was like meat pies, deep fried meat pies for sale. They were very delicious, so we sometimes buy them to snack on. Although one time my dad ate bilyash and it didn't have a good meat. It was bad meat, I guess, and then he had a horrible diarrhea for the rest of the trip, so that was a bad day for him. Then finally around noon we would arrive to Chernigiv, which is another ancient Ukrainian town, has beautiful churches. It's like 1300 years old town, and we stop at the bus station there, and that's where we get off. And in Chernigiv, they built it smart. The central train station and the bus station is right next to each other. As soon as bus stopped in Chernigiv, my mom would bolt out of the bus and race into the station to get in line, because we're done with the first leg. Now we need to get tickets for the next leg, going from Chernigiv to Shors. Now this town renamed back to original name Snovsk. And then that's another challenge, hoping we can get tickets pretty soon, because we need to make on time to the third leg, going from Shors to our village. There were several buses going between Chernigiv and Shors, so if you're lucky, you can leave in an hour, maybe 2, maybe 3. Otherwise, we just had to hang out at the bus station. I would walk around with my dad, maybe we'll check the train station, just killing time and hoping we can get on time, because our next bus was leaving, I believe, at 5:30 in the evening, going to the village. So this next leg between Chernigiv and Shors, or now it's called Snovsk, was 70 kilometers. By car, you can make it in 1 hour. It was almost 3. And once we're on the bus, and I need to talk about a bus now. So we kissed goodbye Ikarus, and now we're riding on Laz bus made in Lviv, and those were so-called hard buses. A while back I was talking about it. There was different type of seats, so this is way less comfortable. Bus itself was way noisier and it was way hotter. The way the rear engine was there, it was producing so much heat inside of the bus, so if you get the rear seats, you're gonna die in the summer. Same problem with ventilation, no air conditioning. So on a hot summer day, LAZ buses were called, they called them dushegubka, like soul killer, because people were fainting, just struggling riding those buses in the summer. And about halfway between Chernigiv and Shors, Snovsk was a small town called Beryazna. And actually I took this picture when we were traveling with my brother about 10 years ago. So that will be small stop for 20 minutes to have a bathroom break, and then we'll continue our journey. And when we finally arrived to Shors, now once again, depending on what time I managed to leave Chernigiv, sometimes my mom had to bolt again, run to the bus station to get in line, because once again we have to buy tickets for third and the final leg. It's between Snovsk, Shors, and the village, which another 30 kilometers. And this is the picture of the bus station in Shors that I took, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15, don't remember. Back then, in the 70s and 80s, it was a bustling bus station. There were people there from early morning to late night. There were buses coming in and leaving. There was just like a human anthill. So it's kind of sad to see that it's completely abandoned now. They shut down. Nobody using buses anymore. A lot of people got cars now, or there's just like a small shuttle service, but bus station is shut down. And I also need to remind you guys, there was no taxi service in that town. So if you miss the bus, you have to stay overnight on the bus station. Then early morning you can catch the bus to get to the village. And there were no people interested to take your money and drive their cars. So if you're stuck, you're stuck. And I believe that bus was leaving about 5 o'clock, so 1700, 5 p.m. And the problem with that bus, once again, was LAZ bus, hard bus, and it was designed, for inner city bus services, but they would sell any amount of tickets, so people would just cram that bus with their luggage, and that was nightmare because, if you ever rode the Greyhound bus, it's not designed as a city bus that people will stay in the bus, it's only for people sitting. So here people would cram everywhere, so it was bad. The distance of our final leg was only 30 kilometers, but that was a good hour because once again, the roads were way worse quality now. There was potholes, and once again, bus stops now at every village. Before Ikarus will be slowing down because of speed limit. Here they will be stopping in every village at the bus stops, and people will get off. Some people maybe get on. So to cover 30 kilometers, which is, I didn't check how many miles, I don't know, 20 miles, maybe less, it will take a whole hour. And then around 6 p.m., that's when we will get into our village in Zhovid. So we left our apartment at 6 a.m. at 6 p.m. we finally at our destination. So 12 hours to cover 155 miles, 250 kilometers. And I actually remember because we will ask our bus driver, to stop outside the village, so we won't get off the bus in downtown. They call it downtown Zhovid, because it was another 2 kilometers to get to the place of my grandparents. So we will stay on the bus, and then we'll ask a driver to stop by the collective farm barn, and it was only 1 kilometer to our home, my grandparents' home. So that's when you get off and bus leaves. And then I remember this one time I'm standing there and I feel like my ears were ringing because all day I'm on the buses, a lot of noise, and suddenly there's like dead silence, and it felt so bizarre and awesome. Like you feel like you lost your hearing because you don't hear anything. It's just so quiet. So that's in a nutshell how you will spend 12 hours covering the distance of 250 kilometers. And of course, my parents then will have to go back to Kiev once their 1 month of vacation is over, if they came in June. And I'll stay all the way to the end of August. Then my mom or my dad will come, same route, to pick me up and take me back to Kiev. And I also need to mention that sometimes, maybe in early 1980s, maybe 82 or 83, they introduced the direct bus from Kiev all the way to Shors, or Snovsk, the new name. So that made a huge difference, because now we didn't have to, have this old troubles of buying tickets in Chernigiv. And bus was leaving like at 11 o'clock in the morning now, and we still could make it just fine to our final leg. So that improved our trips drastically when they introduced the direct bus, and that was Ikarus all the way to Shores. That was amazing. And going back to Kiev was just as bad, similar pain in the butt. We had to get up super early, I believe like 5 a.m. because we had to get out on the very first bus going back. It was 5:30 in the morning, so we have to walk a kilometer with our luggage back to the road, to the main asphalt road, get on the bus, travel to Shores, run again into the bus station, get in line, hoping to buy tickets to Kiev if there was a direct bus, or before that going again through all that hoopla through Chernigiv. So yeah, that was just as bad. And one time we had a very bad trip. It was me and my mom. My dad was gone already. So when we got to Shores, we discovered that they didn't have any more tickets. They were all sold out for direct bus from Shores to Kiev. So then my mom got finally tickets going to Chernigiv. And it was a super hot day. She passed out on the bus because it was so hot. And when we got to Chernigiv, we discovered there was no more bus tickets to Kiev that day. So we were stuck in that town. And finally she figured out to buy bus tickets to Poltava, I believe. And it was stopping in Nezhin, which is a train station. So then when we finally got to Nezhin, we had to drag our luggage to the train station. Then we took Elektrichka, so it's like a suburban train, electric train from Nezhin to Kiev. So we got home so late, like 8 p.m. or something. That was insane. That was like the worst trip. And I remember that trip because I was singing when we got up in the morning. I was just in a good mood, and my mom told me to shut up because singing early in the morning is a bad luck, and our trip was so bad. So since then, I never listen music early in the morning, and I never sing in the morning, because I believe it's a bad luck. And speaking of trains, when I was in my late teens, so around 1920, when I purchased my bicycle, Turist, and I have a video about Soviet bicycles, link will be below in the comment section, I wanted my bike in the village, and I couldn't take it using the bus, so that's when I use train. And I figure out I can take train from Kiev to Nezhin. In Nezhin, I discovered there is a train going from Nezhin to Chernigiv. So I had to wait there, and of course dragging my bike. Then from Chernigiv, I rode my bike 100 kilometers to village, and I did it twice. First time was really bad, I almost died, but 100 kilometers is like 60 miles riding a bike. So I did those trips twice, riding the bike all the way from Chernigiv to the village, covering 100 kilometers. Then one year, almost by accident, I discovered that there's another way to get to my village without this grueling, challenging 100-kilometer bike ride, because I still wanted to bring my bike. I enjoy having a bike in the village because that's how you can get around quickly. So I've discovered I can take a train, once again, elektrichka, like an interurban train, from Kiev to a small town of Bakhmach. So about 2.5 hours to get to Bakhmach, and from Bakhmach there's a train going to Snovsk or Shors, another 2.5 hours, and I had to wait in Bakhmach for another hour or so. But this way I could ride only for 30 kilometers instead of 100 kilometers. So I did that route a couple of times too. And my last trip to the village with my bike was back in 1994. And then of course in 1995 I traveled to the United States for the very first time to work in a summer camp here in Michigan. But of course it's a completely different story. So my trips to the village stopped since then, because every summer since 1995 all the way till 1998 I was coming every summer now to work here in Michigan, not going to chill and relax in the village. Okay, my friends, if you made all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much, and please don't forget to give me a like if you like the story. Your comments will be great. Super thanks as well. And thank you so much for watching Ushanka Show. We'll talk to you soon. До побачення. Goodbye.